Alright guys, so today we're doing a full card prediction for UFC fight Overeem versus Volkov. Obviously the main event with Alistair Overeem and Alexander Volkov. That fight is a 5-round heavyweight main event. In the co-main event with Corey Sandhagen and Frank Edgar in a bantamweight fight, with a women's bantamweight fight between Mariner Now and Macy Chiasson, with a lightweight fight between Diego Ferreira and Benil Dariush, with Alexander Pantoja and Manel Kape. That fight is a flyweight fight. And the last fight on the main card with Cody Stamann and Andre Ewell on the prelims, with Molly McCann and Larry Procopio, with Mike Rodriguez and Daniel Marquez, we have Julio Arce and Timur Valiev, we have Michael Johnson and Clay Guida, we have Devontae Smith and Alex Da Silva, we have Ode Osborne and Dennis Bonder, we have Carol Rosa and Jocelyn Edwards, and then we have Youssef Zalal and Sung Woo Choi. This fight card is an amazing fight card. I believe there's 6 fighters on this fight card that are in the top 10 in their respective divisions. That is absolutely insane. But guys, let's look at the women's bantamweight fight between Carol Rosa and Jocelyn Edwards. Alright guys, so the first fight taking place at UFC fighting Overeem versus Volkov is Carol Rosa versus Jocelyn Edwards. This fight is a women's bantamweight fight. Carol Rosa, the 16th best women's bantamweight fighter in the world, 13 wins with only 3 losses. She's on a 4-fight win streak with 2 of those wins coming inside the UFC. Jocelyn Edwards is the 29th best women's bantamweight fighter in the world. She has a record of 10 wins with only 2 losses. Her last win inside the UFC in a short notice fight against Yan Wu. Carol Rosa is 26 years old. Jocelyn Edwards is 25 and a half years old. Now there is a humongous height and reach advantage in this fight for Jocelyn Edwards. She's 5'8" tall, and it's an amazing reach of 70 inches. Carol Rosa is 5'5" tall, 3 inches smaller than Jocelyn Edwards, and has a reach of 67.5 inches, which is 2.5 inches smaller than Jocelyn Edwards. And guys, if you look at the tabloid predictions, out of 135 different votes, 55% of the vote going for Carol Rosa to win the fight. Literally every single one of the votes going for Carol Rosa to win the fight are saying she's going to win the fight by decision, and 45% of the vote going for Jocelyn Edwards to win the fight, mainly by decision, and then a couple people had her win the fight by knockout. In my opinion, I think the fight's going to go all the way. I don't think either fighter is going to get a knockout or a submission in the fight. I think the fight's going to go all the way, and one of these 2 girls is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so as you guys know, Carol Rosa has a record of 13 wins with only 3 losses. She's been fighting as a pro MMA fighter since 2012. She started with 5 straight wins in a row. Literally every single one of those wins coming by decision. Lost 1 fight by decision, came back with a decision win, got a second round armbar submission win, a second round TKO win, lost a night fight by second round guillotine choke submission, came back with a 3rd round doctor stoppage, lost a night fight by 1st round Kimura submission, got a 3rd round arm choke submission, and a 3rd round knockout win, both in 2019. And finally, in 2019, got a shot against an undefeated fighter, Larry Procopio, won the fight in a very close fight by split decision. In the fight, she ended up getting a knockdown in the fight, and in her next fight against Vanessa Mello, ended up dominating the fight and won that fight by unanimous decision, and looks to make it 3-0 inside the UFC in this fight. Alright guys, so Jocelyn Edwards, 10 wins with only 2 losses. She started her career back in 2015 with a 1st round knockout win in 10 seconds into the 1st round, lost in this fight, her first ever pro loss by 2nd round armbar submission, came back with a 2nd round knockout, 1st round knockout, 1st round armbar submission, a 1st round knockout, another unanimous decision, a 1st round knockout win, and finally joined KOTC in her next fight in 2018, won the fight by 2nd round armbar submission, lost the next fight inside the LFA against Sarah Alpar, who had some fights inside the UFC recently, lost the fight by split decision in a very close fight, came back with a 1st round knockout win over Pamela Gonzalez in literally 28 seconds in the 1st round, and got a short notice fight literally just 2 weeks ago against Yan Wu, and she won the fight by decision, and now she looks to make it 2-0 inside the UFC against Carol Rosa in this fight. Alright guys, so Jocelyn Edwards, I'm going to say it right now, all of her wins before 2018 were honestly against the tuna cans. After 2018, she fought some pretty good competition inside the KOTC, like that win against Brenda Gonzalez by armbar submission, that really close loss against Sarah Alpar inside of the LFA by split decision, and that 1st round knockout win over Pamela Gonzalez in literally 28 seconds in the 1st round. Absolutely insane. I mean, after all those very impressive wins and very impressive losses against Sarah Alpar inside the LFA, she finally got that shot inside of the UFC, and she fought Yan Wu on short notice, and the fight honestly went just as I expected it to. In the 1st and 2nd round, she looked really good. She was landing a lot of good jabs, and every now and then landing some good leg kicks and right hands. But after the 2nd round, I mean, it was 2018 on the scorecards. If the fight had gone all the way, she would have won the fight by decision. But in the 3rd round, it was really close. She really gassed out a lot in that 3rd round. And guys, so to be honest, Jocelyn Edwards' endurance is probably her biggest weakness in her fights, because the 1st and 2nd round, she always looks really good, but in the 3rd round, she always gasses out and does not look good. Usually, her opponents win that 3rd round, or it's just a very close round. Now, either way, she did win the fight by 29-28 decision, or even 30-27 decision, however you guys look at that fight, and that was her first fight inside the UFC. It was a short notice fight. That is very impressive. And then if you look at Carol Rosa, I mean, she's been in the UFC for, 2 years now. She She's 2-0 inside the UFC over Lara Procopio and Vanessa Mello. Yeah, not the best two fighters on her resume, but to be honest, the fight against Lara Procopio was a really, really close fight, but I think the fact that Cara Rosa got a knockdown in the fight ultimately got her the win in that fight, and in the fight against Vanessa Mello, she got 2 takedowns in the fight, dominated the fight on the striking, dominated the fight on the ground in the grappling and wrestling, and because of that, that's why she won the fight with 30-27 unanimous decision. And guys, as I said before, José Edwards is taking this fight on short notice. Cara Rosa was supposed to be fighting Nico Montano, and now is fighting José Edwards. And guys, I would definitely say José Edwards has a little bit more power than Cara Rosa, but Cara Rosa has the third of the takedown, as we saw in her last fight with Vanessa Mello. And guys, when these fights are very, very close fights, like on the feet in this fight, I mean, this fight on the feet in the striking is going to be very, very close. And when Cara Rosa, literally with 1 minute, 2 minutes left in the round, goes for a takedown, lands a takedown, that is going to be the deciding factor of who actually wins the rounds. And because of that, I think Cara Rosa is going to get the takedown literally at the last minute of every single round and secure the win with a 29-28 unanimous decision. Alright guys, so the second fight taking place at UFC Fight Night Overeem vs. Volkov is Ode Osbourne versus Dennis Bonder. This fight is a bantamweight fight. Ode Osbourne, the 104th best bantamweight fighter in the world, has a record of 8 wins with only 3 losses, coming off a guillotine choke submission loss to Brian Kelleher around 1 year ago. Before that, getting a nice submission win by armbar submission on Dana White's Contender Series. Dennis Bonder, 14 wins and 2 losses. This man is on an 8-fight win streak, which is absolutely insane. Ode Osbourne right now is a plus 140, slight underdog to win the fight. Dennis Bonder is a minus 175, slight favorite to win the fight. They're similar in age. Ode Osbourne is 29 years old. Dennis Bonder is 28 and a half years old. Ode Osbourne 5'7" inches tall and his reach is 72 inches. Dennis Bonder is currently 5'6" inches tall. And guys, as I said at the beginning of the video, minus 175 for the slight favorite in Dennis Bonder, plus 140 for the slight underdog in Ode Osbourne. Guys, if you look at the top 2 predictions, out of 640 different votes, 75% of the vote going for Dennis Bonder to win the fight, mainly by submission, and a lot of people have Dennis Bonder winning the fight by decision. 25% of the vote going for Ode Osbourne to win the fight, also mainly by unanimous decision, and a lot of people have him win the fight by submission. In my opinion, I think the fight's going to go all the way. I don't think either fighter is going to get a knockout, a TKO, or a submission in the fight. I think the fight's going to go all the way, and one of these two guys is going to win the fight by decision. Alright guys, so Ode Osbourne, 8 wins and 3 losses, started his career back in 2015 with a first round rear choke submission, a first round knockout, lost 1 fight, his first ever loss as a pro MMA fighter to an undefeated fighter on Antonio Sanchez by unanimous decision inside of RFA, came back with a very, very close split decision win over Corey Galloway, lost 1 fight to Jose Luis Calvo by first round knee bar submission in 24 seconds in the first round, came back with a first round triangle choke submission win over Arden Daly, a first round knockout win, a first round triangle choke submission win again over Kelly Offield, got a first round armbar submission win on Dana White's Contender Series in 2019 over Armando Villar, and then lost his next fight inside the UFC, his first fight inside the UFC, by first round guillotine choke submission to Brian Kelleher, and now he looks to come back with a win here over Dennis Bonder in this fight. Alright guys, so Dennis Bonder, 14 wins and 2 losses. This guy has been fighting as a pro MMA fighter since 2015, and guess what? His first ever pro MMA fight, he ended up losing to Alexander Lunga, came back with an armbar submission win, a knockout win, a first round rear naked submission win, a first round armbar submission win, a first round rear naked submission win, lost 1 fight to Shifa Sheng. Guys, if you guys do not know who Shifa Sheng is, this dude is an absolute beast. 32 wins and 7 losses. He's currently a top 100 flyweight fighter in the world, and he is currently on a 20-fight win streak, and he has beaten guys like Zolga Zumagulov, Shen Ying, and Shua Wang. I mean, that guy's an absolute beast. That was his second ever fight that he ended up losing as a pro MMA fighter. Came back after the loss to Shifa Sheng with a first round arm choke submission win, a third round rear naked submission win, a first round knockout win, and then got an amazing first round knockout win over Sergey Kupin, a second round arm choke submission win, a first round knockout, a third round armbar submission, and then a first round rear naked submission. I mean, this dude is an absolute beast. Literally every single one of his wins, except for 1, have been finishes. I mean, that is absolutely insane. And now this is his first fight inside the UFC against Ode Osbourne, and he looks to make it 1-0 inside the UFC against Ode Osbourne in this fight. Alright guys, so Ode Osbourne is probably going to have the striking advantage in the fight. He's a little bit more faster and a little bit more technical than Bonder is in the striking game, but as we saw in Ode's last fight with Brian Kelleher, he did not show the best at takedown defense. I would say his takedown defense is pretty mediocre, and when you're going against like a guy like Dennis Bonder, he's just going to go for takedown after takedown after takedown, so your takedown defense needs to be well above average, or else you're just going to lose the fight. So, in this fight, Ode Osbourne is definitely going to have to implement his game plan, which I'm guessing is just keep the fight on the feet and win the fight plainly off of his striking and win the fight by decision. Now, I think that would definitely be a good game plan for Ode Osbourne in the fight if he had a good takedown defense, but I already know midway through every single one of these rounds, Dennis Bonder is just going to go for a takedown and most likely get it. Now, when this fight does does eventually go to the ground, we do know that Ode Osbourne has some pretty good grappling and could potentially get a submission on the bottom. He does have 2 triangle submissions in his career, but I really doubt he's going to get a submission in the fight, because Dennis Monder's submission defense is going to be way too much for him to handle. And honestly, if Dennis can just get a couple of takedowns in the fight, I think he will control the fight on the ground and land some good ground and pound shots on the ground. I think 100% Dennis Monder will win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so the third fighting place, a UFC fighting Overeem versus Volkov, is Youssef Zalal versus Sung Woo Choi. This fight is a featherweight fight. Youssef Zalal, the 44th best featherweight fighter in the world. He has a record of 10 wins and 3 losses. Inside the UFC, he's gone 3-1 with his only loss coming to an undefeated featherweight fighter, a top 25 featherweight fighter in the world, in Ilia Topuria. Sung Woo Choi is a top 100 featherweight fighter in the world. He has a record of 8 wins and 3 losses. Inside the UFC, he has a record of 1 win and 2 losses. Sung Woo Choi is 28 years old. Youssef Zalal is 24 and a half years old. Youssef Zalal, 5'10" tall, has an amazing reach of 75 inches. Sung Woo Choi is 6 foot tall, a little bit taller than Youssef Zalal, but has a smaller reach of 74.5 inches. Now, if you look at the tabloid predictions, guys, it is absolutely insane. At 155 different votes, 8% of the vote going for Sung Woo Choi to win the fight, mainly by decision. Then a lot of people have Sung Woo Choi winning the fight by knockout. 92% of the vote going for Youssef Zalal to win the fight by unanimous decision. And then a couple people have Youssef Zalal winning the fight by knockout or submission. In my opinion, if either fighter were to win the fight, it would be by decision. I don't think either fighter would get a knockout or submission in the fight. I think the fight's going to go all the way, and one of the two guys is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so Youssef Zalal, 10 wins and 3 losses. He started his pro career back in 2017 with a 3rd round Dark Stroke submission, a 2nd round knockout inside the LFA, a 2nd round submission, a 3rd round submission, joined back in the LFA in 2018, and got a 2nd round rear neck choke submission win over Daniel Soto, a 1st round Dark Stroke submission, but lost his next 2 fights in 2 very, very close fights by split decision and unanimous decision against Matt Jones and Jose Marciquio, but came back with a 1st round flying knee KO win over Jamie Hernandez, got a shot inside the UFC in 2020, and absolutely dominated with 3 straight wins in a row. All the wins coming by unanimous decision against Austin Lingo, who was undefeated at the time, Jordan Griffin, also by unanimous decision, Peter Barrett by unanimous decision, then was supposed to fight Sung Woo Choi, but instead ended up fighting undefeated featherweight fighter, the 25th best featherweight fighter in the world, in Ilia Topuria, and as you guys all know, he lost the fight by unanimous decision, and looks like Michael the win here over Sung Woo Choi in this fight. Alright guys, so Sung Woo Choi, 8 wins and 3 losses. He started his pro career back in 2015 with a 1st round knockout win, a split decision win, a 1st round knockout win, a decision win, and then a 4th round knockout win in a main event inside a TFC, but in his next fight against Jai Won Kim, lost his first ever pro fight by 1st round knockout in 36 seconds in the 1st round, came back just a couple months later with a 1st round knockout win, and then a 2nd round knockout win over Jai Won Kim, the only person to beat him up to that point, which got him a shot inside the UFC against an undefeated fighter 2 years after that win over Jai Won Kim against Movsar Evloev, and obviously he ended up losing the fight by unanimous decision. And in his next fight against Gavin Tucker, lost that fight as well by 3rd round rear naked submission, but came back in 2019 with a decision win over Suman Mkhitaryan, and now looks to make it 2-0 inside the UFC against Youssef Zalal in this fight. Alright guys, so Youssef Zalal, as you guys know, he had a pretty good 2020 as he ended up getting 3 decision wins in a row inside the UFC, but lost one fight to Ilia Topuria, a top 25 featherweight fighter in the world. I mean, that dude is an absolute beast. Now, in all those 3 wins, like the first one against Austin Lingo, I mean, guys, it was an absolute domination. He went for takedown after takedown after takedown, and at the end of the fight, he had 6 total takedowns and 31 significant strikes, mainly being ground and pound strikes. And after that win, he fought Jordan Griffin and didn't actually land any takedowns in the fight, but ended up defending 6 or more of Jordan Griffin's takedowns in that fight, mainly keeping the fight on the feet, where he showed that he had some really, really good kickboxing, landing 52% of his strikes, with 60 of his strikes landing. That's absolutely insane. Now, after those 2 very dominant wins inside the UFC, he got yet another dominant win, this time over Peter Barrett, and in the fight, he ended up getting a knockdown in the fight, showing he has some pretty good power on the feet, and he ended up landing a takedown pretty much every single round of that fight, achieving more than 7 minutes of control time in that fight, and landing a lot of ground and pound in the fight. I mean, Youssef Zalal, his main fighting strategy is just to kickbox with the opponent for a couple of minutes in the first round, and see if the fight is even on the feet. If it is not, he just goes for a takedown, which he usually gets, and dominates the fight on the ground, and gets a lot of ground and pound from there. Now, Sung Woo Choi, his 2 losses inside the UFC, coming to very good grapplers and wrestlers like Movsar Evloev and Gavin Tucker, showing that he does have a weakness in his ground game, and I think that Youssef Zalal will find the weakness and land a bunch of takedowns in the fight, control the fight on the ground, get a lot of ground and pound in this fight, and end up winning the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so the 4th fight taking place at UFC fighting Overeem versus Volkov is Devontae Smith versus Alex Da Silva. This fight is a lightweight fight. Devontae Smith has a record of 10 wins and 2 2 losses, coming off a knockout loss to Worthy in his last fight, before that getting knockout wins over Dong Ma and Julian Arosa inside the UFC. He's the 61st best lightweight fighter in the world. Alex da Silva is the 87th best lightweight fighter in the world. He has a record of 21 wins and 3 losses so far inside the UFC. He is the 1-2 with 2 losses to Brad Riddell by unanimous decision, and now Alexander Yakovlev by guillotine choke submission, I believe in the 3rd round. His only win inside the UFC coming to Rodrigo Vargas by unanimous decision. And guys, the betting odds for that fight are so close. Devontae Smith at -115 as a near even favorite to win the fight. Alex da Silva at -110 as a near even underdog to win the fight. And guys, both fighters are similar in age. Devontae Smith is 27.5 years old. Alex da Silva just turned 25 years old around 2 days ago. They're similar in height, but the reach advantage for Devontae Smith is absolutely insane. Devontae Smith is 5'9" tall and has an amazing reach of 76 inches. Alex da Silva is a little bit smaller at 5'8" tall and has a very small reach of 73 inches. So a little bit of an advantage there for Devontae Smith on fight. And guys, as I said at the beginning of the video, the betting odds for the fight are literally 50-50. And if you look at the tabloid predictions for this fight, it's absolutely insane. I have 775 different votes. 75% of the vote going for Devontae Smith to win the fight. Literally all of those votes saying he's going to win the fight by knockout in the 1st or 2nd round. 25% of the vote going for Alex da Silva to win the fight, mainly by decision. And then a lot of people have him win the fight by submission. In my opinion, if Alex da Silva were to win the fight, it'd be to win the fight by decision. And if Devontae Smith were to win the fight, it'd be by 1st round knockout or in a very close decision win. Alright, so Devontae Smith, 10 wins and 2 losses. He's been fighting as a pro MMA fighter since 2015. And guess what, guys? He started with 4 knockout wins in a row. A 1st round knockout, a 2nd round knockout, a 1st round knockout again, and then a 3rd round knockout. I mean, that is absolutely insane. But in 2017, got his first ever pro MMA loss to John Gunther by 3rd round knockout. Came out with a 1st round triangle choke submission, a 4th round knockout win, a 1st round knockout. Got a shot in Dana White's Contender Series against an undefeated fighter in Joseph Lowry. He won the fight by 1st round knockout. Got a shot inside the UFC against Julian Arosa. Won the fight by 1st round knockout in 46 seconds in the 1st round. Then got a 1st round knockout win over Dong Ma. But in his fight against Worthy, ended up getting his first ever loss inside the UFC in 2019 by 1st round knockout. And looks to come back with a win here over Alex da Silva in this fight. Alright guys, so Alex da Silva, 21 wins and 3 losses. This guy started his career with 18 wins in a row, with literally every single one of the wins except for 2 being finishes in the 1st or 2nd round. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. And in 2017, got a shot inside of Brave CF, lost his first ever pro MMA fight to Jacob Kulkiewicz by unanimous decision, came back with a 1st round guillotine submission, a 1st round Dr. Stoppage win, got a shot inside the UFC in 2019 against Alexander Yakovlev, lost that fight by 2nd round guillotine choke submission, came back 4 months later with a decision win over Rodrigo Vargas, but lost his next fight against Brad Riddell in 2020 by unanimous decision, and listening back with a win here over Devontae Smith in this fight. Alright, so as you guys know, the betting odds for the fight are super close. I believe -115 for Devontae Smith and -110 for Alex da Silva. So basically, a 50-50 fight according to the oddsmakers. That is absolutely crazy. Now, Devontae Smith, I mean, guys, this dude is so far in the UFC, either gets a 1st knockout or gets knocked out in the 1st round. I mean, he got a 46-second knockout win over Julian Arosa, and then a 1st round knockout win over Dong Ma, and all of his wins outside the UFC and inside the UFC, even on Dana White's Contender Series, are finishes. That is just crazy. And in both the Julian Arosa fight and in the Dong Ma fight, the total amount of shots that his opponents landed in those fights are 5 total significant strikes. That is it. He went out there and immediately stunned both of them and knocked them both out in the 1st round, which shows that this man has some serious power on the feet. Also, in that KO loss to Worthy, his only losses in the UFC, they were exchanging shots that were pretty good, and it was looking like it was going to be a very close 1st round. But as you guys know, Devontae Smith ended up getting knocked out in the fight. Now, Alex da Silva, well, so far inside the UFC, he's 1-2, and honestly, if he loses this fight against Devontae Smith, he actually may be cut from the promotion. His first fight was against Alexander Yakovlev, who went 3-6 inside the UFC before being cut, and Alex da Silva ended up losing to him by guillotine choke submission. Wherever that fight went, he ended up losing that fight, and even in his next fight, his only win inside the UFC against Rodrigo Vargas, the striking in that fight was very even, 20 significant strikes strikes for Vargas and 17 strikes from Silva, but the reason he actually won the fight was because of his 3 takedowns. He ended up landing the fight. If he did not get the takedowns, he would have lost the fight, and against Devontae Smith, he's going to need to land a lot of takedowns, or honestly, he's going to lose the fight. Now, his fight after that against Brad Riddell, it was a big step up in competition, and on the feet, he got absolutely dominated with 13 less significant strikes against Brad Riddell, but again, he did land 3 takedowns in the fight, but that was not enough to get him the win in that fight. Now, for this fight against Devontae Smith, it is pretty simple how either fighter could win the fight. Alex De Silva honestly just needs to go for takedown after takedown after takedown, and if he does get the takedown, needs to keep Devontae Smith on the ground for as long as possible and get a lot of ground and pound shots. Devontae Smith, all he needs to do is defend those takedowns, keep the fight on the feet where he definitely has the power advantage, the striking advantage, the kicking advantage, literally everything on the feet, on the striking game. He definitely has the advantage and may possibly getting knocked out in the fight. Now, I do think that Alex De Silva could get the fight down in this fight, maybe once or twice in the fight, but I still think, just like the Brad Riddell fight, it will not be enough against Devontae Smith, and I think Devontae Smith will keep the fight on the feet for the most part and dominate the fight on the feet and win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so the 5th fight taking place, a UFC fight at Overeem versus Volkov, is Michael Johnson versus Clay Guida. Michael Johnson, the 51st best lightweight fighter in the world. Clay Guida, the 38th best lightweight fighter in the world. Michael Johnson has a record of 19 wins and 16 losses. That is absolutely insane. Clay Guida has a record of 35 wins and 20 losses. That is also absolutely insane. Michael Johnson is 34 and a half years old. Clay Guida, much older, at 39 years old. So that is a humongous age advantage for Michael Johnson in the fight. Michael Johnson also has the height and reach advantage in the fight, as he is 5 foot 10 inches tall and has a reach of 73 and a half inches. Clay Guida is 5 foot 7 inches tall, 3 inches smaller, and has a reach of 70 inches, 3 and a half inches smaller. And guys, the betting odds for the fight are minus 220 for the moderate favorite in Michael Johnson to win the fight. Clay Guida is at plus 165 as a slight underdog to win the fight. And guys, if you look at the tablet predictions for the fight, out of 955 different votes, 79% of the vote going for Michael Johnson to win the fight, mainly by unanimous decision. Then a lot of people have Michael Johnson winning the fight by first or second round knockout. 21% of the vote going for Clay Guida to win the fight, mainly by decision. Then a lot of people had Clay Guida winning the fight by submission. In my opinion, most likely this fight's going to go all the way, and one of the two guys is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so Michael Johnson, 19 wins and 16 losses. He started his pro career back in 2008, got 2 wins, lost 1, got 2 wins, lost 2, got 1 win, lost 1, got 3 straight wins in a row, and finally in 2010 got a shot on the Ultimate Fighter Season 12 and won a fight against Pablo Garcia by unanimous decision. Got a first round rear submission, a decision win over Alex Caceres, got a very close to split win over Nam Fine, got a shot on the Ultimate Fighter 12 finale against Jonathan Burkins, but lost the fight by decision. Got a shot inside the UFC, won the fight by first round knockout, lost 1 fight by first round heel hook submission, came back with a decision win over Shane Roller, and a decision win over Tony Ferguson. And after that win over Tony Ferguson, got a second round knockout win over Danny Castillo, lost his next 2 fights to undefeated Miles Jury by unanimous decision, and then Rezi Medina by third round dark stroke submission, came back with a decision win over Joe Lozon, a second round knockout win over Gleison Tebow, a decision win over Melvin Gilliard, and a decision win over Edson Barbosa, but lost his next fight against Neil Dariush and Nate Diaz, both by decision. Came back with a first round knockout win over the number 1 lightweight fighter in the world right now in Dustin Poirier. Won the fight in 1 minute and 35 seconds in the first round, absolutely insane. But after the win over Dustin Poirier, he fought arguably the best lightweight fighter of all time in Khabib Nurmagomedov, lost the fight by third round Kimura submission, lost the fight after that to Justin Gaethje by second round knockout, and the fight after that to Darren Elkins by second round rear neck submission, and then came out with 2 decision wins over Andre Fili and Artem Lobov, but lost his next 3 fights to Josh Emmett, Stevie Ray, and Thiago Moises, and looking back with the win here over Clay Guida in this fight. Alright guys, so Clay Guida, 35 wins and 20 losses, guys. I'm not even going to look at the wins and losses outside in the UFC, because that is literally going to take like an hour and a half for me to do so. So we started in the UFC in 2006, got a second round submission, lost 2 fights by decision, came back with a decision win, a third round rear submission loss to Roger Huerta, came back with a first round knockout and 2 decision wins over Nate Diaz and Matt Dazing, lost 2 fights to Diego Sanchez by decision and Kenny Florian by second round submission, came back with a second round submission win, a third round knockout win over Javier Dos Anjos, a second round guillotine submission win over Takanori Gomi, a decision win over Anthony Pettis, lost 2 fights to Benson Henderson and Gray Maynard, both by decision, came back with a decision win over Hasayuki, lost a fight to Chad Mendez by third round knockout, came back with a decision win, a second round rear submission loss to Dennis Bermudez, got a decision win, lost his next 2 fights to Thiago Tavares by first round submission, and Brian Ortega by third round knockout, came out with a decision win over Eric Koch, a first round knockout win over Joe Lozon, lost one fight to Charles Oliveira, a top 5 lightweight fighter in the world by first round guillotine choke submission, came back with a decision win over BJ Penn, and then lost his next 2 fights to Jim Miller and Bobby Green by decision and first round guillotine choke submission, and now inside the 2021, he looks to come out with a win here over Michael Johnson in this fight. Alright guys, so Michael Johnson and Clay Guida are both on losing streaks right now, with Michael Johnson losing his last 3 fights to Josh Emmett by third round knockout, with literally a minute left in the fight. He lost that fight to Stevie Ray by decision, and then Thiago Moises by second round ankle lock submission. Now first off, in the fight with Thiago Moises, he was pretty much a dominant in the fight with 27 significant strikes on Moises and defended all 3 of Moises' takedowns. That is very impressive, but as you guys know, in the second round, Moises grabbed for a single leg and just went for an ankle lock and ended up getting it in the second round. Now the fight before that against Stevie Ray, it was actually a very, very close fight. I believe 29-28 on the scorecards, with Stevie Ray only outlanding Michael by 7 total strikes. The fight before that against a top 8 featherweight fighter in the world in Josh Emmett was also a very, very even fight. Michael Johnson actually landed more shots than Emmett, but as you guys know, he ended up getting knocked out at the end of the third round. Now Clay Guida, his last 2 fights, he pretty much got dominated by Bobby Green, literally landing 1/4 of the strikes as Bobby Green in the fight, then losing to Jim Miller by submission in 58 seconds into the first round. Now, because of Michael Johnson has proven, even in these 3 losses, he can still compete with fighters like Josh Emmett, who's a top 10 featherweight fighter in the world. He can compete with guys like Stevie Ray, who was in the prime of his career when they fought each other, and compete with Thiago Moises. And the fact that Michael Johnson is 34 years old, while Clay Guida is 40 years old, basically, I mean, I said this fight, staying on the feet. I think this fight is going to be a really, really good fight with both fighters landing a lot of good shots, but because Michael Johnson has the age advantage, and in my opinion, the striking advantage, and the takedown defense in this fight, I think Michael Johnson goes out there and wins the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so the 6th fight taking place at UFC fight at Overeem versus Volkov is Timur Valiev versus Martin Day. This fight is a bantamweight fight. Timur Valiev, the 60th best bantamweight fighter in the world, he has a record of 16 wins and only 2 losses. Martin Day, the 97th best bantamweight fighter in the world, he has a record of 8 wins and 5 losses so far inside the UFC. Is on a 3-fight losing streak. Timur Valiev is 31 years old. Martin Day is 32 years old. Martin Day is really, really tall and has a very long reach, 5 foot 10 inches tall, and has a reach of 73 inches. Timur Valiev a little bit smaller and has a little bit smaller of a reach. Timur Valiev is 5 foot 6 inches tall and has a reach of 67 inches, so much, much smaller, and a much, much smaller reach for Timur Valiev in the fight. And guys, if you look at the top of your predictions, it is absolutely insane. As you guys know, Timur Valiev was supposed to be fighting Julio Arce, is now fighting Martin Day, so that might play a factor into why these tabloid predictions are this absolutely insane. Out of 555 different votes, 92% of the vote going for Timur Valiev to win the fight, mainly by decision. Then a lot of people have Timur Valiev winning the fight by knockout. Only 8% of the vote going for Martin Day to win the fight, mainly by decision. And then a couple of people have Martin Day winning the fight by knockout. In my opinion, I give it maybe a 25-33% chance, somewhere around that range, that we see a finish from one of the fighters in the fight. But most likely, this fight's gonna go all the way, and one of these 2 guys is gonna win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so Timur Valiev, 16 wins and 2 losses. He actually started his pro MMA career with a loss in his first ever pro MMA fight, but came back with a first round armbar submission, a decision win, 2 first round knockout wins in a row, 2 more decision wins, a third round of flying knee KO win inside the WSOF, got a unanimous win over Isaiah Chapman, a first round knockout win over Ed West, and then a decision win over Tito Jones. But in this next fight, fought an undefeated fighter in Chris Gutierrez and lost the fight in a very, very close fight by split decision. Came back and rematched Chris Gutierrez a couple of months later and won the fight by unanimous decision. Then got a third round rear naked submission win inside of the PFL, a decision win over Max Goga, a decision win, a first round knockout win, and then a decision win, which got him a shot inside the UFC. He was supposed to be fighting Jamal Emmers, then was supposed to fight Mark Striegel, but instead ended up fighting Trevin Jones, and ended up losing the fight by a second round knockout, but Trevin Jones had drugs in his system, so the fight was changed to a no contest later on this year, and now he's fighting Martin Day, and looks to make it 1-0 inside the UFC in this fight. Alright guys, so Martin Day, 8 wins and 5 losses, started with 4 straight wins in a row, 2 of the wins coming by decision, 1 of the wins coming by first round submission, and 1 of the wins coming by second round knockout. After that 4-fight win streak, he ended up fighting Nohelin Hernandez, who was undefeated at the time and lost the fight by first round knockout. Came back a couple of months later with a first round knockout win over an undefeated fighter, but in his next fight against Jamie Alvarez, lost the fight on Dana White's Contender Series by unanimous decision, but came back with a first round guillotine, a unanimous decision, a second round knockout, which finally got him a shot inside the UFC, where he ended up fighting Ping Luan Liu, and it was a super close fight, but he did end up losing the fight by split decision, lost the fight after that by third round knockout against Davey Grant, and the fight after that as well, all 3 losses inside the UFC, and he lost the next one by Anderson Dos Santos by first round guillotine choke submission. Right now inside the UFC, he's gone 0-3, and he's getting another shot inside the promotion just because Timur Valiev was supposed to fight Julio Arce, but just just yesterday, Julio Arce pulled out of the fight, so now Martin Day and Timur Valiev are fighting on this UFC Fight Night, and Martin Day looks to get his first win inside the UFC in this fight. Alright, so as you guys know, Timur Valiev has 16 wins and 2 losses. Technically, he got a loss in his last fight by second round knockout, but the fight was turned into a no contest because Trevin Jones, his opponent, had drugs in his system. Now, Timur Valiev, he was pretty much dominating the fight, and it was looking to be another knockout in the first round, or another unanimous decision from Timur Valiev in the fight. Now, Timur Valiev did get a knockdown in the first round of that fight, and had basically double the amount of strikes as Trevin Jones in the fight, but as you guys know, midway into the second round, he did get knocked out. Now, something to consider is Martin Day is taking this fight on 8 days notice, which means that he's not going to have a full training camp, and is not on that strict of a diet as Timur Valiev most likely is on. Now, even though technically, yes, Timur Valiev lost his first fight inside the UFC, outside of the UFC, guys, this dude was an absolute beast. He had 10 wins instead of some pretty legit organizations like WSOF or the PFL, with most of the wins being dominant striking performances. Now his opponent, Martin Day, he had his first 2 fights inside the UFC. They were really close. The first one being against Ping Li and Liu, and in my opinion, he had a pretty good chance of winning that fight on the scorecards, but ended up losing the fight by split decision. He landed double the amount of strikes as Ping Li and Liu, but did get knocked out, I believe, in the first or second round. That's the main reason that he ended up losing the fight, and that's why he lost the fight by split decision. And after that, he fought Davey Grant and looked really good. If that fight had gone all the way, he would have won the fight, but Davey Grant went out there in the third round and ended up getting a knockout. Absolutely insane. And in the third fight, he ended up fighting Anderson Dos Santos and just got submitted by guillotine submission, I believe, in the very first round. Now, in this fight between Timur Valiev and Martin Day, I definitely expect this fight to stay on the feet, with Martin Day maybe getting 1, maybe if he's lucky, getting 2 takedowns in this fight, but most likely the fight is going to mainly stay on the feet. And guys, Martin Day does not have the best chin, so Valiev, who has some pretty good power in his right hand, maybe, just maybe, get a KO in this fight in the first or second round, but most likely, the fight's going to go all the way, and Timur Valiev landing a bunch of calf kicks and a bunch of right hands to the body. I mean, he's just an absolute beast. He's going to hinder Martin Day with those leg kicks and those body shots. I mean, I think the first round is going to be pretty even, with Timur Valiev just landing all those leg kicks and body shots. But in the second and third round, I think Timur Valiev is going to absolutely dominate that second and third round, and most likely land like 20% more strikes than Martin Day in the fight, and I think this fight's going to go all the way. I think Timur Valiev is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so the 7th fight taking place at UFC Fight Night Overeem vs Volkov is Mike Rodriguez versus Danilo Marques. This fight is a light heavyweight fight. Mike Rodriguez is the 35th best light heavyweight fighter in the world. Danilo Marques, the 62nd best light heavyweight fighter in the world. Mike Rodriguez has a record of 11 wins and 5 losses. Danilo Marques has a record of 10 wins and 2 losses. If you look at the betting odds for the fight, Mike Rodriguez is at minus 245 as the moderate favorite in the fight. Danilo Marques at plus 185 as the slight underdog to win the fight. Guys, Mike Rodriguez just turned 32 years old. Danilo Marques just turned 35 years old, so a huge age advantage for Mike Rodriguez in the fight. If you look at the height and reach of both fighters, it's absolutely insane. Now, Mike Rodriguez, 6'4" tall, has a reach of 82.5 inches. Danilo Marques, 6'6" tall, and has a reach of 77.5 inches. So a big reach advantage for Mike Rodriguez, and a little bit of a height advantage there for Danilo Marques in the fight. And guys, if you look at the tabloid predictions, it is absolutely insane. Out of 895 different votes, 80% of the vote going for Mike Rodriguez in the fight, mainly by knockout, and a lot of people have Mike Rodriguez winning the fight by decision. 20% of the vote going for Danilo Marques to win the fight. It's literally split down the middle between knockout, submission, and decision. In my opinion, if Danilo Marques were to win the fight, it'd be by decision. If Mike Rodriguez were to win the fight, it'd be by knockout. So it's very likely we see a finish in the fight. Alright guys, so Mike Rodriguez, 11 wins and 5 losses. He's been fighting as a pro MMA fighter since 2014. Got 2 first round knockout wins in a row. Lost 1 fight by decision, came back with a second round submission win, a first round flying knee KO win, and then a second round submission. And then in his next fight against Kevin Haley, ended up losing the fight by first round submission. Came out with a first round front kick KO win over Hector Sanchez in literally 7 seconds into the first round. Absolutely insane. And they get a first round knockout win over James Izzard, a first round knockout win over Alec Hubin, which got him a shot on Dana White's Contender Series in 2017. Won the fight by first round flying knee KO over Jamel Jones. Got a shot inside the UFC against Devin Clark. Lost the fight by decision. Came back with a first round knockout win over Adam Milstead. Got a no contest with John Allen. And a very close fight. Then got a first round knockout loss to Dao Jung. And then got a first first round knockout win over Marcin Progno, and then lost in a fight to Ed Herman by third round Kimura submission, and looks like he might get the win here over Danilo Marques in this fight. Alright, so Danilo Marques, 10 wins and 2 losses. He started his pro career back in 2014 with 6 straight wins in a row. Lost one fight by first round knockout, came back with a second round rear naked submission win. Lost one fight in a main event at LFA 9 against Myron Dennis by split decision in a very close fight, but came back a couple of months later with an armbar submission win and a decision win in 2018. And 2 years after that win over Clayton Caetano, got a shot inside the UFC against Kadis Ibrahimov on short notice and ended up winning the fight by unanimous decision. Looks to make it 2-0 here against Mike Rodriguez in this fight. Alright guys, so Mike Rodriguez, so far inside the UFC, he's gone 2-3, and in my opinion, he's gone 3-2 because he definitely won that fight against Ed Herman. I mean, if you look at that fight, it was an absolute domination. He landed 90 total strikes at a 72% efficiency. That is absolutely insane. Ed Herman only landed 40 strikes on Mike Rodriguez in that fight, which means he was absolutely dominating Ed Herman in that fight. Also, in that fight, he landed 2 knockdowns, and in the second round, got a knockout as he landed 2 nice knees to the body on Ed Herman, and he definitely got the second round knockout in the fight, but the ref, that stupid ref, said that those knees hit the nuts of Ed Herman, which they obviously did not hit the nuts of Ed Herman. It was obviously a body shot, and that should have been a knockout in the second round, but they stood the fight up in the third round, and Ed Herman came back and got a Kimura submission, guys. Mike Rodriguez won the fight by second round knockout, but that ref was just so stupid. So now inside the UFC he's 2-3, but in my opinion, obviously he's 3-2 inside the UFC. Now the fights before that, he got a first round knockout win over Marcin Progno and a first round knee to the body knockout win over Adam Milstead. Now technically, every single one of Mike Rodriguez's wins inside the UFC are KOs, 2 of them being knees to the body. And guys, when you look at his opponent, Danilo Marques, I mean, first off, he is 35 years old, much older than Mike Rodriguez, because Mike Rodriguez is only 32 years old. And guys, Danilo Marques is only notable win as a pro fighter coming to a guy that went 0-3 inside the UFC and Kadis Ibrahimov. Now in the fight against Kadis, he attempted 16 total takedowns and landed 4 of them, which is gonna show that in this fight against Mike Rodriguez, he's gonna go for a lot of takedowns in the fight, but he's gonna have to be very careful because Mike Rodriguez, as we saw in the Ed Herman fight, he has a nasty knee to the body and could knock out Danilo Marques with a knee to the body in this fight. Now because obviously Mike Rodriguez is a better striker and he's better takedown defense and can use those knees to the body very well in this fight, and that is why Mike Rodriguez winning the fight by second round TKO. Alright guys, so the 9th fight taking place at UFC Fight Night Overeem versus Volkov is Molly McCann versus Lara Procopio. This fight is a women's flyweight fight. Molly McCann, the 21st best women's flyweight fighter in the world, sits a record of 10 wins and 3 losses. Lara Procopio, 47th best women's bantamweight fighter in the world, sits a record of 6 wins with only 1 loss. So Molly McCann is a favorite in the fight at -190 as a slight favorite in the fight. Lara Procopio at +155 as a slight underdog to win the fight. And guys, Lara Procopio, her reach is absolutely insane. 67.5 inches. Molly McCann is only at 62 inches, giving Lara Procopio a 5.5 inch reach advantage in the fight. They're both 5'4" inches tall. And guys, Molly McCann is 31 years old. Lara Procopio is 25 years old. And guys, if you look at the top predictions for the fight, it is absolutely insane. Out of 885 different votes, 88% of the vote went for Molly McCann to win the fight, mainly by decision. And then a couple people have Molly McCann to win the fight by knockout. 12% of the vote went for Lara Procopio to win the fight, also mainly by decision. And then a couple of people have Lara Procopio winning the fight by submission. In my opinion, I give the chances we see a finish in the fight, maybe 10-15%, but more likely this fight's gonna go all the way, and one of these 2 girls is gonna win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so Molly McCann at 10 wins and 3 losses. She started with a first round TKO win in 2015, lost one fight to Vanessa Mello by decision, came back with a decision and a second round knockout, and a first round knockout in literally 50 seconds into the first round. Absolutely insane. Got a shot inside of Cage Warriors, where she got 2 decision wins in a row, and a second round knockout win, which got her a shot inside the UFC in 2018 against Jillian Robertson, but she lost the fight by second round rear naked submission. But after that loss to Jillian Robertson, she got 3 straight wins in a row over Priscilla Kakahera, Ariane Lipsky, and Diana Belbita, all the wins coming by unanimous decision. But in her next fight against the top 15 women's flyweight fighter in the world, in Tyler Santos, she lost the fight by unanimous decision. Looks like we have the win here over Lara Procopio in this fight. Alright guys, so Lara Procopio, 6 wins and 1 loss. She started with 3 straight wins in a row, a first round armbar submission, 2 unanimous wins, and got a shot inside the UFC. And in her first fight inside the UFC against Carol Rosa, lost the fight by split decision. And looks like we have the win here over Molly McCann in this fight. Alright guys, so Molly McCann, her only 2 losses inside inside the UFC to Jillian Robertson, a very, very good grappler by rear naked submission in the second round, and her other loss coming to an even better fighter in Taila Santos, a top 15 women's flyweight fighter in the world. She's already has 3 wins inside the UFC over Priscilla Cacoheta, Ariane Lipski, and Diana Belbita. Now in her first win inside the UFC over Priscilla Cacoheta, she ended up winning the fight by 30-27 unanimous decision, and in the fight she landed 81 significant strikes, absolutely insane. And in her next fight against Ariane Lipski, it was pretty much the same exact thing, and she landed double the amount of strikes as Ariane Lipski, and actually got 2 takedowns in the fight. And after that, she fought Diana Belbita, and really showed her takedown skills with 5 total takedowns landed in the fight, absolutely insane. Now obviously Molly McCann is more of a striker than a grappler or wrestler, but if she needs to in this fight, she can definitely shoot a takedown in this fight, which is a good advantage to have against Lara Procopio in the fight. Now her opponent, Lara Procopio, she only has a 1 fight inside the UFC, but it was very, very impressive. Even though she lost the fight against Carol Rosa, a top 15 women's bantamweight fighter in the world, I mean, she won the first round with some good leg kicks and a lot of good right hands that landed in the first round, but after that, in the second and third round, she did not really look the same, and she got really, really tired in the second and third round and lost on most of the exchanges, and ended up losing the fight in a very, very close fight by split decision. Now, the fact that Lara can actually compete with Carol Rosa, a top 15 women's bantamweight fighter in the world, that is very, very impressive, but I actually think that Molly McCann is going to be a little bit tougher to beat than Carol Rosa, because I already know at the end of every single round, she's a 100% shooting a takedown, and she might not even need to, because her striking is already so good. So I think that if this fight is in the feet, it'll be very, very even, but because Molly McCann can shoot for the takedowns in the fight, and get the fight in the clinch, and get some control time in the fight, I think that will all help Molly McCann win this fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so the first fight on the main card of UFC Fight Night Overeem vs. Volkov is Cody Stamann and Andre Ewell. This fight is a bantamweight fight. Cody Stamann is the 20th best bantamweight fighter in the world. Andre Ewell is the 30th best bantamweight fighter in the world. Cody Stamann 19 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Andre Ewell 17 wins and only 6 losses. Cody Stamann is a huge favorite on the fight at -300 as a moderate favorite in the fight. Andre Ewell is at +230 as a moderate underdog to win the fight. They're similar in age. Cody Stamann is 31 years old. Andre Ewell is 33 years old. So maybe, just maybe, a little bit of an age advantage for Cody Stamann in the fight. Now Cody Stamann is 5'6" tall, has a reach of 64.5 inches. Andre Ewell 5'8" tall, so 2 inches taller. And then guess what, guys? His reach is absolutely insane. A 75-inch reach for Andre Ewell in the fight. That is literally a 10.5-inch reach advantage for Andre Ewell in the fight. That is absolutely insane. And guys, if you look at the top of your predictions for this fight, I mean, it's crazy. 940 different votes, 86% of the vote going for Cody Stamann to win the fight, mainly by decision. And a lot of people have Cody Stamann win the fight by knockout, and then only 14% of the vote going for Andre Ewell to win the fight, mainly by decision. And then a lot of people also have Andre Ewell winning the fight by knockout. In my opinion, I think this fight's going to go all the way, and one of these two fighters, either Andre Ewell or Cody Stamann, is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so Cody Stamann 19 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. He started with 4 straight wins in a row, a first round knockout win, a decision win, and then a third round knockout win over an undefeated fighter. But in 2014, ended up getting his first ever loss to Lawrence Duguelo by split decision in a very, very close fight. Came back with 3 decision wins in a row, got a third round armbar submission win, another decision win, and then a first round knockout win over Bill Camry with literally 1 second left in the first round. After that first round knockout, we got a second round knockout, 2 decision wins, a split decision win inside the UFC over Brian Caraway. Lost his next fight to Aljamain Sterling, who was about to fight Petr Yan for the Bantamweight Championship. He lost the fight by second round knee bar submission, and in his next fight got a decision win over Alejandro Perez, got a draw against the Adong Song, got a decision win over Brian Gallagher, and lost one fight to Jimmy Rivera by unanimous decision. And let's just come back with the win here over Andre Ewell in this fight. Alright guys, so Andre Ewell, 17 wins and 6 losses. He started 3 straight wins in a row, a first round knockout, a second round knockout, and a unanimous decision. But in his next fight in 2016, got his first ever loss to Jordan Winsky by unanimous decision. Came back with a first round knockout win, lost his fight after that by third round submission. Came back with a first round knockout win over Jimmy Marquez. And in his next fight against Ryan Lilly, lost the fight by split decision. Came back with 4 wins in a row, a first round knockout, a first round submission, a third round submission, and a unanimous decision. But in his next fight against a guy that just got a main event fight inside of Bellator in Patchy Mix, lost the fight by first round rear naked submission. Came back with a first round guillotine, a first round knockout, a first round knockout inside the LFA. Got a third round dark choke submission. Got a shot inside the UFC in 2018, and got a split decision win in a very, very close fight against Henan Barrow. Lost the fight after that by third round submission against Nathaniel Wood, came back with a decision win over Anderson Dos Santos, lost his next fight to Marlon Chito Vera by 3rd round TKO, and then came back with 2 decision wins over Jonathan Martinez and Erwin Rivera, and now looks to make it 3-0 into the UFC against Cody Stamann in this fight. Alright, so Cody Stamann has been in the UFC for around 3 years now, and started with 3 straight wins in a row over some pretty decent competition in Terrion Ware, Tom DeQuestanoy, and then Brian Caraway. And guess what, guys? He won every single one of those fights out by decision, and in the first fight with Terrion Ware, I mean, guys, it was an absolute domination. Cody Stamann ended up getting 8 total takedowns in the fight and dominated the fight with literally 94 significant strikes landed compared to only 55 from Terrion Ware in the fight. And after that win, he fought Tom DeQuestanoy, and it was pretty much the same exact thing with 4 takedowns landed in the fight, 70 significant strikes compared to only 33 from Tom in the fight. Yet another good wrestling and ground and pounding performance from Cody in that fight. And after that, he fought Brian Caraway, and it was a pretty even fight, and Brian actually went for 23 total takedowns on Cody Stamann in the fight. Absolutely insane. But he only landed 1, showing Cody Stamann has some very, very good takedown defense, as well as some very good takedowns for himself in the fights. And after that, he pretty much got dominated by Aljamain Sterling, the second best bantamweight fighter in the world, about to fight Petr Yan at UFC 289 for the Bantamweight Championship. He lost to him by 2nd round submission, came back with a striking battle win over Alejandro Perez, and in the fight, he didn't land 1 takedown, but still won the fight because his striking is also very, very good, especially for mainly being a wrestler. And after that, he dominated Song Yadong with more significant strikes and 5 total takedowns in the fight, but somehow, I'm not really sure how, that fight was changed to a draw. Now, his opponent, Andre Ewell, as I said at the beginning of the video, he has a 75-inch reach, a 10.5-inch reach advantage over Cody Stamann in the fight. That is really going to help him in the striking aspect in this fight. And also, Andre Ewell has some pretty good takedown defense. He's only been taken down once in his last 3 fights inside the UFC. Now, even though Andre Ewell obviously is the better striker and has a way longer reach and is much, much taller than Cody Stamann, and if this fight's in the feet 100%, I have Andre Ewell winning the fight. But guys, Cody Stamann has shown to be one of the best wrestlers in the bantamweight division, and I don't think any of the guys Andre has faced in his UFC career are anywhere near the caliber of a wrestler as Cody Stamann is. Cody Stamann is going to go out there, get in the clinch, grab a single or double leg, take you down over and over and over again, dominate you on the ground, and win the fight by decision. I think 100% Cody Stamann goes out there and gets 4 takedowns in the fight, controls Ewell on the ground, and I think he wins the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so the second fight on the main card of UFC fighting Overeem versus Volkov is Alexander Pantoja and Manel Kape. This fight is a flyweight fight. Manel Kape, 15 wins and 4 losses. Alexander Pantoja, 22 wins and 5 losses. He's the 6th best flyweight fighter in the world. Manel Kape, the 80th best bantamweight fighter in the world. Alexander Pantoja, the favorite in the fight at -125 as he's slightly favored in the fight. Manel Kape is currently at -105 as he's slightly underdog to win the fight. And guys, Manel Kape is 27 years old. Alexander Pantoja is 30, almost 31 years old, so no real age advantage for either fighter in the fight. Both fighters are 5'5" tall, and then Alexander Pantoja currently has a reach of 68 inches. Guys, if you look at the tabloid predictions for this fight, it is absolutely insane. Out of 956 different votes, 60% of the vote going for Alexander Pantoja to win the fight, mainly by decision, and then a couple people have Alexander Pantoja winning the fight by submission. 40% of the vote going for Manel Kape to win the fight, mainly by knockout, and then a lot of people have won the fight by decision. In my opinion, if Manel Kape were to win the fight, it'd be by 1st round knockout, and if Alexander Pantoja were to win the fight, it'd be by unanimous decision. Alright, so Alexander Pantoja, 22 wins and 5 losses. He started with 2 straight wins, lost 1, got 5 straight wins in a row, and then lost 1 fight to Jussier Formiga, currently a top 10 flyweight fighter in the world. Lost a fight by unanimous decision, came back with 4 decision wins in a row, and a 1st round submission, followed by a 1st round rear naked submission win over Daniel Arau. Got a decision win over Lincoln Dessa, which got him a shot inside the RFA in a main event fight. Got a 2nd round rear naked submission, a 2nd round triangle choke submission, which got him a shot on the Ultimate Fighter 24 against Brandon Moreno, who just fought Davison Figueiredo for the flyweight belt and got a draw against Davison Figueiredo. And Alexander Pantoja went out there and got a 2nd round rear naked choke submission win over Brandon Moreno. Absolutely insane. After that win over Brandon Moreno, he got a decision win over Kaikara France. Lost the fight after that to Hiromatsu Ogikubu, if I'm saying his name correctly. fight, he lost the fight by unanimous decision, then came back with 2 decision wins over Eric Shelton and Neil Seery. But in his next fight against Dustin Ortiz, a very, very good wrestler, lost the fight by unanimous decision, and then came back with 3 straight wins in a row over Brandon Moreno, Ulka Sasaki, and Wilson Reyes by first round knockout, first round rear naked submission, and unanimous decision. But in his next fight against Davison Figueiredo, the current flyweight champion, lost the fight by unanimous decision, then came back with a first round knockout win over Matt Schnell, but lost the fight after that to Askar Askarov by unanimous decision. Listen back to the win here over Manel Kape in this fight. Alright, so Manel Kape, 15 wins and 4 losses. Before joining Ryzen, he had a record of 9 wins and only 1 loss. Joined Ryzen in 2017, got a first round head kick KO win, a first round knockout over Ian McCall. But in his next fight, literally 2 days after that knockout win over Ian McCall, he ended up fighting Kyoji Horiguchi and lost the fight with 3rd round submission, fought Kai Asakura in his next fight in a very, very close fight, lost the fight by split decision, came back with a 3rd round submission win over Yusaka Nakamura, but lost the fight after that to Ulka Sasaki by unanimous decision, then came back with 3, not 2, not 1, 3 second round knockout wins over Saishiti Ito, Takeya Mizugaki, and Kai Asakura. Absolutely insane. And now against Alexander Pantoja in his first fight into the UFC, it looks to make it 1-0 in this fight. Alright, so Alexander Pantoja has been in the UFC for around 3 years now and started by winning a striking battle against Eric Shelton, then almost got a knockout against Neil Seery with a nice right hand, took him down, landing a lot of ground and pound shots, and then finished the fight in the 3rd round with a rear naked submission. Absolutely insane. And after that, he fought one of the best wrestlers in the flyweight division in Dustin Ortiz and got his first ever loss inside of the UFC as he was taken down a total of 7 times in the fight, which is absolutely insane. And after the loss, he fought former title challenger Brandon Moreno and ended up dominating the fight on the feet in the striking game, showing that Alexander Pantoja not only has really good submission skills, but also has some very, very good striking, as he outstruck Brandon Moreno, who just got a title shot against Davison Figueiredo. Absolutely insane. And after that, he got yet another rear naked submission win and a first round knockout win over Wilson Reyes, yet again showing that he has some power in the striking game. And after that, things get very, very interesting. In his next fight, he fought Davison Figueiredo, the current flyweight champion, and he actually ended up winning the first round, outlanding the great Figueiredo by 4 significant strikes. I mean, guys, he landed a lot of good leg kicks in the round and a lot of good right hands in the round. Now, he did end up losing the 2nd and 3rd round in that fight, but being in that close of a fight with Davison Figueiredo is just obviously really, really impressive. Now, his opponent, Manel Kape, this man has some serious power in his hands. In his last 3 fights, KO, TKO, and KO, every single one of them being in the 2nd round. Guys, this dude is the real deal. His striking is absolutely amazing. His power is absolutely amazing. And in this fight, he could possibly get a KO or TKO in the 1st or 2nd round. But Alexander Pantoja has yet to be finished by submission or knockout in his pro career, as he has a really good chin and has an amazing submission defense. Guys, in this fight, I expect the most of it to stay up on the feet and it to be very, very even, with both fighters landing some good right hands, and Pantoja landing a lot of leg kicks in this fight to hinder the movement of Manel Kape. And whenever Manel Kape does decide to go for a big body shot, go for a big right hand, or just go for a KO shot and tries to knock out Pantoja in the fight, I believe Pantoja will duck the shot and shoot in with a double leg or a single leg and get some control time on the ground, get some ground and pound. And I think that is the reason Alexander Pantoja will win the fight, because he's going to go for takedowns in this fight, maybe get 3, maybe even get 4 takedowns in the fight. And that is why I have Alexander Pantoja win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so the 3rd fight on the main card of UFC fighting Overeem versus Volkov is Diego Ferreira and Beneil Dariush 2. This is the rematch between both of these amazing lightweight fighters. Beneil Dariush, the 10th best lightweight fighter in the world. Diego Ferreira, the 11th best lightweight fighter in the world. Diego Ferreira has 17 wins with only 2 losses. Beneil Dariush has 19 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. That is absolutely insane. This fight is basically a 50-50 fight. Diego Ferreira is at -120 as a near even favorite to win the fight. Beneil Dariush is at -110 as a near even underdog to win the fight. Diego Ferreira is 36 years old and Beneil Dariush is 31 and a half years old. So a huge age advantage for Beneil Dariush in the fight. And guys, Beneil Dariush, 5'10" tall, has a reach of 72 inches. Diego Ferreira, a little bit smaller, 5'9" tall, but has a longer reach of 74 inches. And guys, if you look at the top of your predictions for this amazing lightweight fight, Diego Ferreira only has a 34% of the vote, mainly by decision, and a couple people had Diego Ferreira getting a submission in the fight. fight, 66% of the vote going for Beneil Dariush to win the fight, mainly by KO or TKO in the first or second round, but a lot of people also have Beneil Dariush winning the fight by decision. In my opinion, most likely, this fight's going to go all the way, and one of these two guys is going to win the fight by decision, but it also has a likely chance that Beneil Dariush is going to get a knockout in the first or second round. Alright, so Diego Ferreira, 17 wins with only 2 losses. That is an amazing record. He started with 11 straight wins in a row, got a decision win, a second round rear naked submission win, a first round armbar submission win, a second round triangle choke submission win, a first round Kimura, a second round rear naked submission win, joined Legacy FC in 2013 and got 3 decision wins in a row, joined the UFC in 2014, got a first round submission win over Colton Smith, a second round knockout win over Ramsey Nightham, and then went on a 2-fight losing streak to Beneil Dariush, who he is currently going to be fighting on Saturday. And guess what? He lost that fight by unanimous decision, 30-27 on all judges' scorecards, and lost the fight after that as well to Dustin the Diamond Poirier, the number 1 lightweight fighter in the world, by first round knockout, and then came back with an amazing win streak with a decision win, a first round knockout win over Jared Gordon, a second round TKO win over Kyle Nelson, and then 2 decision wins in a row, and a second round rear naked submission win in 2020 over a former UFC lightweight champion Anthony Pettis, and now he looks to make it 7 in a row into the UFC against Beneil Dariush in this fight. Alright, so Beneil Dariush, 19 wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw. That is also an amazing record. He started with 6 straight wins in a row, got a shot inside the UFC in 2014, got a first round submission win over Charlie Brenman, lost 1 fight, his first ever loss as a pro MMA fighter to Ramsey Nightham by first round knockout, came back with a second round submission win over Anthony Rocco Martin, and a decision win over Diego Ferreira, who he's going to be fighting next Saturday, and then got a second round submission win over Darren Cruikshank, a decision win over Jim Miller, a decision win over Michael Johnson, lost his next fight to Michael Chiesa by second round submission, came back with a first round knockout win over James Vick, a decision win over Rashid Magomedov, but in his next fight fought Edson Barbosa and lost the fight by second round of flying knee KO, absolutely insane. Then got a draw with Evan Dunham, lost his next fight to Alexander Hernandez by first round knockout, and then came back with an amazing win streak with 5 straight wins in a row, a decision win over Thiago Moises, a second round armbar submission win over Drew Dober, a first round submission win over Frank Camacho, a second round knockout win, and a crazy comeback win over Drakkar Klose, and then a first round spinning backface knockout over Scott Holtzman, and now inside the UFC, he looks to make it 6 in a row in this fight. Alright, so as you guys know, Diego Ferreira is obviously a very good grappler. He is 36 years old and is on a 6-fight win streak, which is really impressive. Now, his last 2 losses, his only losses as a pro MMA fighter, coming to Dustin the Diamond Poirier, who is currently the number 1 lightweight contender in the world, if you exclude Khabib from that title picture. And then the other man to beat him was Beneil Dariush, who he's going to be fighting. Now, in their first encounter, Beneil Dariush won the fight by 30-27, unanimous decision on all judges' scorecards. And in the fight, Beneil Dariush got a takedown pretty much every single round, and had 3 takedowns with an amazing 7.5 minutes of control time on top of Diego Ferreira in the clinch and on the ground. Once Beneil got Diego down, it was pretty much over from that point because he ground and pounded and outlanded Ferreira 31 strikes to 0. Honestly, in the second round, Diego Ferreira only landed 1 shot on the feet before getting taken down and thoroughly dominated. And after that loss, as you guys know, he ended up fighting Dustin Poirier, lost the fight by first round knockout, and they got that 6-fight win streak. And out of those 6 wins, 3 of the wins came by decision, and he mainly just clinched up, landed some good shots, and got a lot of control time, and won those fights by decision. He also got 2 knockout wins over Jared Gordon and Kyle Nelson, showing he also has some good power on the feet. And as you guys know, in his next fight, got a rear naked submission win over Anthony Pettis, a former UFC lightweight champion. Now, Beneil Dariush, as I said before, pretty much dominated Diego Ferreira in their last encounter, 30-27 on all judges' scorecards, and he's on a 5-fight win streak where he literally just dominated Thiago Moises for 3 straight rounds. Another good grappler, took him down at least 4 times in the fight and won the fight by decision. He beat Drew Dober on the feet and on the ground with 6 more significant strikes and 2 takedowns, leading to him getting the submission in the second round, and then got an easy submission over Frank Camacho, a crazy second round comeback KO win over Drakkar Klose, and then he's spinning a back fist knockout over Scott Holtzman. Absolutely insane. I mean, guys, Beneil Dariush, he's an absolute beast. He doesn't really go for that much leg kicks in his fights, but he doesn't really need to, as 90% of his strikes usually land to the head of his opponents, and he has some really effective power on the feet, and he's so good at getting his opponents in the clinch and getting some control time in the clinch, taking them down when they least expect it. I mean, we already saw Beneil Dariush dominate Diego Ferreira in their last fight, but then again, Diego Ferreira has looked so much better since those losses to Dustin Poirier and Beneil Dariush. But then again, Beneil Dariush, in my opinion, has a slight edge in the strike striking game. Midway through each of these rounds, I expect them to get the fight in the clinch and go for some takedowns on Diego Ferreira and control the fight on the ground with some ground and pound, and maybe even he goes for some submissions, but I highly doubt it. I just see Benil Dariush getting the fight to the ground, landing a lot of ground and pound, getting a lot of control time, and if he does this, I have 100% confidence that Benil Dariush is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so the 8th fight taking place at UFC Fight Night Overeem versus Volkov is Mary Renau and Macy Chiasson. This fight is a women's bantamweight fight. Macy Chiasson, the 13th best women's bantamweight fighter in the world, she has a record of 6 wins and 1 loss. Mary Renau, the 12th best women's bantamweight fighter in the world, she has a record of 9 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw, coming off a 3-fight losing streak. Every single one of the losses coming by decision to Kat Zingano, Yana Kunitskaya, and Raquel Pennington. Mary Renau is obviously the underdog in the fight at plus 170 as a slight underdog to win the fight. Macy Chiasson is at minus 210 as a moderate favorite to win the fight. And guys, Marion Renau is 43 and a half years old. Macy Chiasson is 29 and a half years old in the prime of her professional career. Marion Renau is in her 40s at 43 and a half years old. That is absolutely insane. Also, Macy Chiasson is 5 foot 11 inches tall, has a reach of 72 inches. Marion Renau, 5 foot 6 inches tall, 5 inches smaller than Macy Chiasson, and has a reach of 68 inches, 4 inches smaller than Macy Chiasson. That is absolutely insane. And guys, as I said at the beginning of the video, Macy Chiasson, the minus 210, moderate favorite to win the fight. Mary Renau is at plus 170 as a slight underdog to win the fight. And guys, if you look at the top of your predictions, it is absolutely insane. Out of 875 different votes, 84% of the vote going for Macy Chiasson to win the fight, mainly by decision. Then a lot of people have Macy Chiasson winning the fight by knockout. 16% of the vote going for Mary Renau to win the fight, mainly by decision as well, and a lot of people have Mary Renau winning the fight by submission. In my opinion, I think this fight's going to go all the way, and one of these two girls is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so Mary Renau, 9 wins, 6 losses, and 1 draw. She started her pro maker back in 2010 with a 3rd round knockout win. 2 years later, she fought Julia Avila and lost the fight by decision, came back with a 1st round knockout win, a 1st round knockout win, a 1st round armbar submission win, got a shot inside the UFC in 2015 against Alexis Dufresne, won the fight by decision, got a 1st round triangle choke submission win over Jessica Andrade, a former UFC champion, and in her next fight against Holly Holm, lost the fight by decision, and lost the fight after that against Ashley Evans Smith in a very, very close fight by split decision, came back with a 3rd round TKO, got a draw against Betch Correia, a 3rd round TKO win over Talita Bernardo, and then a 2nd round triangle choke submission win over Sarah McMahon, but went on a 3-fight losing streak to Kat Zingano, Yana Kunitskaya, and Raquel Pennington, and let's just come back with a win here over Macy Chiasson in this fight. Alright guys, so Macy Chiasson has 6 wins with only 1 loss. She started her pro career back in 2017 with a 3rd round armbar submission win, joined Invicta FC, got a decision win, got a shot on the Ultimate Fighter Season 28, and got a 1st round knockout win, a 1st round knockout win, got a shot on the Ultimate Fighter 28 finale against Pandy Kianza, won the fight by 2nd round rear naked submission, beat Gina Manzani by 1st round knockout, got a 2nd round TKO win over Sarah Moras, but lost her next fight to Lena Landsberg by unanimous decision, and then came back with a decision win over Shayna Young, and now inside the UFC, she looks to make it 2 in a row in this fight. Alright guys, so Marion Renau is coming off of 3 straight losses in a row to not the worst competition with Kat Zingano, Yana Kunitskaya, and Raquel Pennington. In the fight with Kat Zingano, she got absolutely destroyed. She got taken down a total of 6 times in the fight with Kat Zingano. Also, in that fight, her striking was absolutely horrible, as it was 33 significant strikes for Kat Zingano and 14 significant strikes for Marion Renau. And after that domination, she fought Yana Kunitskaya in a fight that mainly stayed on the feet, and Yana Kunitskaya absolutely dominated, landing 100 different significant strikes compared to only 58 significant strikes from Marion Renau in the fight. And if you look at how both fighters in that fight actually landed their shots, 72% of Marion Renau's strikes were to the head, 17% of those strikes were to the body, and only 10% of the strikes were to the leg. If you compare that with Yana Kunitskaya, she landed 35% of her strikes to the head, 27% of the strikes to the body, and 36% of the strikes to the leg. I mean, whenever she faces strikers that split their striking evenly across leg kicks, body shots, and head strikes, she tends to not do well at all. Now, in her most recent fight against Raquel Pennington, it was more of the same, with Raquel dominating on the feet and Marion landing little to no leg kicks in the fight. Now, when you look at her opponent, Macy Chiasson, I mean, guys, she's an absolute beast. She has so much power in her hands, as in her first 2 fights in the UFC, in under 2 minutes into the first round, she knocked out Gina Manzani, and in her next fight was Sarah Moras. I mean, guys, it was an absolute massacre. Macy landed 43 total significant strikes compared to only 9 strikes from Moras, and she got the TKO in the second round after reversing on top of Sarah after a takedown. I mean, that was absolutely insane. After that win, she ended up having a very, very close fight with Lena Landsberg, which honestly could have gone either way, and the fight after that, she just dominated Shayna Young for 3 straight rounds and got the unanimous decision. I mean, guys, I'm gonna say it right now, Macy Chiasson is the real deal. She has a lot of power in her hands. She can defend takedowns very, very well, and she's a way, way better striker than Mary right now, and that is why Macy Chiasson winning this fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so the co-main event at UFC Fight Night Overeem vs. Volkov is Corey Sandhagen versus Frankie Edgar. This fight is a bantamweight fight. Corey Sandhagen, the 3rd best bantamweight fighter in the world. He has 13 wins and only 2 losses. Frankie Edgar, the 10th best bantamweight fighter in the world. He has 24 wins, 8 losses, and 1 draw. And guys, the betting odds for the fight are absolutely insane. Corey Sandhagen at minus 415 as a heavy favorite to win the fight. Frankie Edgar at plus 300 as a moderate underdog to win the fight. And guys, Corey Sandhagen is 28, almost 29 years old. Frankie Edgar is 39 years old, so a humongous age advantage for Corey Sandhagen in the fight. And guys, if you look at the height and reach advantage for Corey Sandhagen, it is absolutely insane. Corey Sandhagen, 5 foot 11 inches tall and has a reach of 70 inches. Frankie Edgar, so much smaller at 5 foot 6 inches tall and has a reach of 68 inches. So huge advantages there for Corey Sandhagen in the fight. And guys, if you look at the top 2 predictions for this fight, out of 1,200 different votes, 83% of the vote going for Corey Sandhagen to win the fight, mainly by decision, and then a couple of people have Corey Sandhagen getting a knockout in the 1st or 2nd round. 17% of the vote going for Frankie Edgar to win the fight, also mainly by decision, and then a couple of people have Frankie Edgar going out there and getting a 1st or 2nd round knockout. In my opinion, I give the chances that we see a 1st or 2nd round knockout in the fight, maybe 20-25% chance, but most likely this fight's going to go all the way, and one of these 2 fighters is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright, so Corey Sandhagen, 13 wins and only 2 losses. He started with 5 straight wins in a row. 3 of the wins coming by decision, and 2 of the wins coming by submission in the very first round. But after that 5-fight win streak in 2017, he joined the LFA and got his first ever pro-made loss to Jamal Emmers by unanimous decision, and they came back with a 1st round head kick KO win and a 1st round knockout, which got him a shot inside the UFC in 2018. He got a 2nd round body shot knockout win over Austin Arnett, a 2nd round TKO win over L'Oreal Contra, a 1st round armbar submission win over an undefeated fighter at the time in Maria Batista, a split decision win over John Lineker, a decision win over Javier Lasansel, lost his next fight in 2020 to Aljamain Sterling, who's about to fight Petrian for the UFC Bantamweight Championship at UFC 259, lost the fight by 1st round rear naked choke submission, came back with a 2nd round wheel kick knockout over Marlon Moraes in a main event fight a couple of weeks ago, and now inside the UFC, he looks to make it 2 in a row in this fight. Alright, so Frankie Edgar, 24 wins, 8 losses, and 1 draw. He beat guys like Jim Miller, he beat Sean Shirk, he beat BJ Penn 3 times, he beat Gray Maynard, he drawled with Gray Maynard, he lost to Gray Maynard, he fought Benson Henderson twice, he fought Jose Aldo, he beat Charles Oliveira, he beat BJ Penn, he beat Cub Swanson, he beat Uriah Faber. Oh my god, this list is gonna take forever. He beat Chad Mendez, he lost to Jose Aldo, he beat Jeremy Stevens, he beat Yair Rodriguez, he fought Brian Ortega, he fought Cub Swanson, he fought Max Holloway, oh my god, he fought Chan Sung Jung, and then he finally fought Pedro Munoz. I mean, this dude has fought so many amazing fighters in the lightweight division, in the featherweight division, I mean, even in the bantamweight division. I mean, that is absolutely insane. But now into the UFC, he looks to make it 2 in a row against Corey Sandhagen in this fight. Alright guys, so Corey Sandhagen is 28 years old, almost in the prime of his career. Frankie Edgar is 39, almost 40 years old, near the end of his pro career. Now, Frankie Edgar, as you guys know, he's an absolute legend and has fought so many other amazing MMA fighters, mainly in the lightweight and featherweight division. But as you guys know, he recently made his move down to the 135-pound division, the bantamweight division, and ended up fighting Pedro Munoz in a 5-round main event. And before that fight, in the bantamweight division with Pedro Munoz, he was in the featherweight division and fought the Korean Zombie and Max Holloway, both in 5-round fights. And guess what, guys? In the Max Holloway fight, he went for a total of 16 takedowns and only landed 1 takedown in the fight, and only had 1 minute of total control time, making that fight basically a kickboxing fight. Now, Frankie Edgar did really good in that fight, landing a lot of leg kicks and a lot of good body shots, but in the fight, he only had 57 total strikes, landing to the head of Max Holloway, and Max Holloway had 106 strikes to the head of Frankie Edgar, literally having double the amount of strikes. And because Frankie Edgar had half of the amount of strikes as Max Holloway did, he lost the fight 50-45, 49-46 on the judges' scorecards, and after that fought the Korean Zombie in a 5-round main event, but ended up getting knocked out in the very first round. And after that, as I said, he moved down to the bantamweight division and ended up fighting Pedro Munoz also in a 5-round fight. It was a really close back and forth war, and both of the fighters had pretty similar numbers, but Frankie Edgar won the fight by split decision in a very, very close fight, and Pedro Munoz, to this day, still says they won the fight 48-47, but that fight was a really, really close fight. And guys, Corey Sandhagen, wow, this dude has a humongous reach advantage, he has a humongous height advantage, he has a humongous age advantage, and also this fight is a 3-round fight, which is also another advantage for Corey Sandhagen in the fight. If you look at Frankie Edgar, most of his fights are 5-round fights, and he tends to come back in the 4th and 5th round in those fights, and guys, he will not have those 4th and 5th rounds in this fight, because it is a co-main event. Alistair Overeem and Alexander Volkov are the main event, so this fight is a 3-round fight, which is definitely an advantage for Corey Sandhagen in the fight. And guys, Corey Sandhagen usually goes out there and finishes the fight in the 1st or 2nd round, or makes it a kickboxing battle, lands a lot of leg kicks and a lot of good body shots. We saw him in his first fight inside the UFC. He had a 2nd round, a body punch knockout, absolutely insane. And guys, Frankie Edgar can definitely wrestle for sure, and Corey's takedown defense is only 30%, which is not the best, especially against a guy like Frankie Edgar. But guys, Corey Sandhagen, as we all know, has a reach advantage and has a height advantage. I actually think he's going to use a height and reach advantage in this fight to defend the takedowns. He's going to keep the fight a little bit at range, and it's not going to allow Frankie Edgar to go for any takedowns in the fight. And guys, if Corey Sandhagen can do this, keep the fight on the feet, landing a lot of good leg kicks, landing a lot of good body shots, keep the fight on the feet, I think 100% Corey Sandhagen is going to win the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so Alistair Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. This fight is a 5-round heavyweight main event. Alistair Overeem, the 4th best heavyweight fighter in the world. He has a record of 47 wins and 18 losses, which means he has had a total of 65 pro MMA fights. That is absolutely insane. Alexander Volkov, the 7th best heavyweight fighter in the world. He has 32 wins and only 8 losses. Volkov is actually the favorite in the fight at -185 as the slight favorite in the fight. Alistair Overeem at +145 as the slight underdog to win the fight. And guys, Alistair Overeem is 40.5 years old. Alexander Volkov is 32 years old, so a huge age advantage in this fight for Alexander Volkov. And guys, Alexander Volkov, 6 foot 7 inches tall, has a reach of 81 inches. Alistair Overeem, 6 foot 4 inches tall, and has a reach of 80 inches. And guys, if you look at the top 2 predictions, out of 1,300 different votes, 37% of the vote going for the favorite in Alexander Volkov to win the fight, mainly by knockout. And then a lot of people have Alexander Volkov win the fight by decision, and 63% of the vote going for the underdog in Alistair Overeem to win the fight, mainly by knockout. And then a lot of people have Alistair Overeem winning the fight by decision. In my opinion, I give it maybe an 85% chance that one of these two guys gets a knockout or TKO in this fight. Maybe 15% chance that the fight goes all the way, and one of these two guys wins the fight by unanimous decision. Alright guys, so Alistair Overeem, 47 wins and 18 losses, guys. It is literally going to take me like a year and a half to go through this whole man's record. I mean, he has literally 65 pro MMA fights. He's fought amazing fighters like Augusto Sakai, Walt Harris, Arsenio Rosenstrike, Alexei Oleinik, Sergey Pavlovich, Curtis Blades, Francis Ngannou, Fabricio Werdum, Mark Hunt, Stipe Miocic, Andrei Arlovsky, Junior Dos Santos, Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, Ben Rothwell, Frank Mir, Travis Brown, Antonio Bigfoot Silva, Brock Lesnar, Fabricio Werdum again, Todd Duffy, Brett Rogers. I mean, so many amazing fighters in this man's career. I mean, he's been fighting since 1999. He fought Chuck Liddell, Antonio Rogerio Nogueira twice, Mauricio Hua twice, Fabricio Werdum 3 times. I mean, this dude fought so many amazing fighters. He even fought Mirko Cro Cop. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. I mean, Alistair Overeem is an absolute beast. Alright guys, so Alexander Volkov, 32 wins and 8 losses. That is literally 40 pro MMA fights. This guy has been fighting since 2010. Joined the UFC in 2016 and had a record of 26 wins and 6 losses. When he joined the UFC, he got 2 decision wins over Timothy Johnson and Roy Nelson, a 3rd round knockout on Stefan Struve, a 4th round knockout on Fabricio Werdum, lost one fight to Derek Lewis in a crazy comeback, a 3rd round knockout loss by Derek Lewis with 11 seconds left in the fight. He was about to win the fight 29-28 on the judges' scorecards, but got knocked out in the 3rd round. Absolutely insane. After that, he fought Greg Hardy in a co-main event, won the fight by unanimous decision. But in his next fight against Curtis Blades, lost the fight by unanimous decision, then came back with a 2nd round body kick KO win over Walt Harris. Absolutely insane. I mean, Alistair Overeem and Alexander Volkov are absolute beasts. Alright, so Alistair Overeem is technically on a 5 5-fight win streak with a 5th round TKO win over Augusto Sakai, a 2nd round TKO win over Walt Harris, a 1st round TKO win over Alexei Oleinik, a 1st round TKO win over Sergey Pavlovich, and then you guys already know what happened. The 5th round knockout loss to Jairzinho Rozenstruik. In my opinion, if that fight had gone all the way, Alistair Overeem would have won that fight by decision, but you guys already know what happened. His lip got cut right open, and Biggie Boy knocked him out with 4 seconds left in the fight. Absolutely insane, but guys, Alistair Overeem, out of his 5 last fights, 4 of them ended by TKO. 4 wins by TKO. This man's a ground and pound. It's just insane, guys. I mean, Alistair Overeem, if he can get this fight to the ground 100%, I have Alistair Overeem winning the fight by TKO. But guys, Alexander Volkov has some pretty decent takedown defense, and his kickboxing is really, really good. We saw him in the Derek Lewis fight. He was beating Derek Lewis for 3 straight rounds, and then with 11 seconds left in the fight, got knocked out. But if you're outstriking Derek Lewis, I think you might be able to outstrike Alistair Overeem. I think the striking in this fight on the feet is going to be pretty even. Maybe I'll give the slight edge to Alexander Volkov, but guys, Alistair Overeem, this guy's a ground and pound. He's so legendary, it is so effective, and it is so powerful. If this guy gets the fight to the ground 100%, he's going to land a lot of good shots to win the fight by a dominant 50-45 unanimous decision, or get a TKO in the 1st or 2nd round. If Alexander Volkov can keep the fight on the feet, I will say he'll win the fight by 3rd round knockout, or the fight will go all the way, and Alexander Volkov will win the fight by unanimous decision. But in my opinion, I think the fight's going to go to the ground in the 1st or 2nd round, and Alistair Overeem is going to land some really good shots that are going to put Alexander Volkov away in the 1st, 2nd round. So that is my prediction. I have Alistair Overeem win the fight by 1st or 2nd round TKO. Alright, so that is my full card prediction for UFC Fight Night Overeem versus Volkov. I have Alistair Overeem winning his fight. I have Corey Sandhagen winning his fight. I have Macy Chiasson winning her fight. I have Beneil Dariush winning his fight. I have Alexander Pantoja winning his fight. I have Cody Stamann winning his fight. I have Molly McCann winning her fight. I have Mike Rodriguez winning his fight. I have Michael Johnson winning his fight. I have Devontae Smith winning his fight. I have Dennis Bonder winning his fight. I have Carol Rosa winning her fight. I have Youssef Zalal winning his fight. And then I have Timur Valiev winning his fight against Martin Day. So many amazing fights. 14 fights on this UFC fight card. That is absolutely insane. But guys, that is it for the video. I'm out of here. Bro, if you're still here at 1 hour and 15 minutes, you're a legend. You're a legend. Subscribe.